everybody. We are back with another episode of the Pristine Connections podcast, and I am with Joshua Koehn, founder, CEO of all things pristine businesses. So
keep it clean.
I know, yeah, it's easy. So let's kind of just dive right in. Let's talk about the industry. Let's talk about what's changed. How have industry standards changed since starting your companies?
So, the one that's been around the longest is the roofing company. A lot of that has to do with just like the cyclical cycle of like insurance and the way things are.
Yeah.
Companies are a lot tighter now. People have had a weird cycle personally as well because their rates have been going up. Now their deductibles are going up. Now their coverage is going down. And so you're getting pulled in three different directions. And then kind of more into the landscaping side, people are used to housing prices going up. And now they're stagnant to falling currently too. So a lot of times people on their houses, when they're making financial decisions, their house is an investment if they see that their house has gone up in value, and it's a money pit if it goes down 1%.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of like the psychology of the way people work on it is, kind of funky. But I think we're also entering a new time period right now where the remodeling side is going to definitely tick up a lot more in landscaping because people are locked in, figuratively to these rates that are really low. Well, rates are high, they can't move. And so if they want to change, renovate the house. That's how you get it fixed. You want a bigger kitchen, you want the extra room, you want to redo floors just to give it a new makeover, or we have a new ad that we're running right now, before and after, of a house that we've made it an old house to brand new, and that was really funny. People didn't even believe how much of a transfer that you can do, and so doing things like that can, save you the hassle of the real estate fee for the real estate agents and brokers, and then the inspections and all that kind of stuff, and they can just do a credit line if they need the money for something, and then go out, do the work, and have a whole brand new house for a lot less hassle.
Sure. Let's talk about that ad really quick, because obviously there's been a lot of just hilarious comments about, whether or not it's the same, if it's AI generated, which obviously I'm sure that poses a lot of problems.
No comment.
No comment. How are you solving some of these industry standards? Obviously, when it comes to the remodel side, things are very modern these days, and you're working on a lot of older homes that just need a lot of updates on the outside. But a lot of people in the comments were like, well, why are you doing this white? And it doesn't fit the neighborhood in general. So how are you solving some of these standards?
Well, I think that is kind of solving it, though, because some people, they want their house to stand out. They don't want to look like everybody else.
Sure.
You're going down the street, all the houses look the same. They have the same stone borders. They have the same flower beds. They have the same color brick, and they have maybe some differentiating stones on the house, for colors, but pretty much all the houses look the same. So I think some people just want to stand out and be the one that's different. The way you do that during the day is like painting, having like good, clean, sharp landscaping. Right now, sharp lines is straight, that kind of thing. And at night is having good lighting. So having uplights and things. So that way, if like you're way down the street and you're just pulling around the curb, you can see the one house you're going to because it lights out and it stands out.
Sure. Well, back to your
point. It looks
point.
better. It's easier, more, it's visible. So it's like, look for the white house on the street, it's easier than just saying that, we're down the middle somewhere. So.
If we're 10 houses down to the left. Well, back to your point about property value, home values, things are increasing. I mean, people do that because if most of the time they probably want to sell their house. They're putting in all this money and work to sell their house and just get top dollar for it.
Right.
So you would think that the neighborhood follows.
We just hit, I was reading something the other day where we just hit like the highest inventory in the last 12 years for houses. And so if people want to sell their house, not just like to sell their house, but like if they want to get top dollar, especially, they have to be something that stands out. And so now you have to be careful with what you do, because a lot of the stuff you spend $1, you're not necessarily going to get $1 back.
Yeah.
A lot of the times when we do renovations, you're actually spending $1, but you don't care because you're not selling the house right now. So over time, it'll be worth more, and you get to use it for 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
And then that's what makes it worth it. And it looks better.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if the general person is trying to sell their house, I wouldn't recommend doing like what we did in that ad that we're talking about, like where we, turned a brick house, we painted it white, we did new windows with black trim, black door, the landscaping, removed some trees, like pretty much the whole front facade looked completely different. You could barely tell it was the same house.
Yeah.
That kind of thing is not good for selling. Like, that's not going to help you sell your house, but that's like, instead of selling your house, you do that. Now you feel like you have a new house, and it's the way you want it.
Yeah, interesting perspective.
Your style.
I would think it would, but I mean...
No, so like there's very few things that will actually make you money. So if you have something that's really outdated, so it's like from the 60s to the 90s maybe, you can renovate like a bathroom and like the master bathroom mostly, not just like any bathroom, and then like your kitchen, your master bedroom. Those will give you potentially, if it's done right, if you spend $1, you could get like $1.25 to $1.50. But if you do it on, say, windows, it's actually going to be 1 for 1. Now, that does make the house look better, though. So that will make it so that if you want to get $100,000 for your house, people don't come in and offer 95. They may not offer, 205, but you'll at least get what you're looking for.
Sure.
And so if you spend, a $90,000 house, you spend $10,000 on windows. Well, let's say you have $100,000 now. You don't net more money, but they didn't offer less.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like it helps you with selling the house. There's efficiency. So even if you're not selling your house, you can also, it's going to help reduce your electricity bills because if you do it right, it's going to insulate better against the heat or the cold.
Yeah.
So certain things like that. There's other benefits to it than just the immediate, what's the ROI? It's, you want to like your house. You want to live there. You want to enjoy it. So, it's a very big asset. You got to take care of it. But then if you do things like, there's certain type of roof shingles that you can put up that'll help with insulation as well as underlayments. And that's going to help reduce, the heat factor during the summertime and things like the windows or insulation inside. Different things like there's different types of siding, things like that you can do to upgrade where I wouldn't do it just because of that.
Yep.
But if it's like I'm going to do it anyways, spend a little bit more money, get those items, and you'll save it in the long term. Like we were talking about a class 4 shingle before. That's going to save you insurance rates, but like you don't go change your roof just for that.
Right.
What you'd want to do is like I'm already changing my roof. Perfect time to spend a couple $1,000s more, and now we're saving for the next 10 years.
Yeah, and that definitely makes sense. So speaking of industry, what's an unpopular opinion that you have about your industries?
So which industry? There's like entrepreneurship, roofing, landscaping. You want to go for each one?
Yeah,
entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
My favorite one is I can't work for people, so I'm gonna go out on my own so that I can set my own schedule and
That's a good one.
all that entrepreneur buzzword stuff where it's like I'm gonna go work for myself. I'm gonna make more money.
Yeah.
I'm going to be able to relax on the weekend and not have to. All that is just complete farce. Like it is not. Is the exact opposite. If you this is more work and it's harder in every way. You're the last one paid. You were the one taking all the risk, and it looks sexy, but it's not at all.
This is an unpopular opinion, by the way. Don't come for Joshua.
But then they're like for roofing. Everyone likes to say that they're the best, most professional. As a whole, as an industry for roofers, I wouldn't even say that they're unprofessional, but they're very lazy. If you've ever walked into a roofing conference where they're having something, there's 100 roofers. It's funny how similar everybody looks. They all look the same because it just attracts a certain type of people. And for the most part, they're semi-lazy, try to stay home and do as little as possible. And that's what causes a lot of the problems, I think, out there is because they're not following up and checking on their job sites. And, they're doing just enough to get by. And then when a hiccup happens, it screws up everything. And that's why there's high turnover. In landscaping, this isn't exactly that, but I have a guy that can do it for less. It's just a great term that I like to hear. Whenever I hear it, I'm like, I bet you there is. But do you know what you're going to get for that? Like you're trying to compare like it's apples to apples. And so this isn't it's a little bit off topic, but that's what I love though. When people say, well, someone else gave me a quote for the exact same thing for less. I'm like, that's not how that works.
Right.
It's not the same thing. They're not the same people. They're not the same company, not the same standards. They might have quoted you for the same stone job, but it's not the same job.
Yeah.
Because if you've ever, I wish I could pop up some like good stone, bad stone. I mean, it's the same materials even, but the way it's cut, how thick the joint is it consistent? Do they put rebar in it? There's all this stuff that you can't see and stuff that you can see that once it's there, it's done. You can't go back later and say, oh, I don't like that. I should pay a little bit more.
Yeah. That's an expensive fix.
Yeah.
Very expensive fix.
Yeah. And then, trying to think how to phrase this. So for the next one, for like networking, I guess this is like industry, like unpopular opinion. Like networking is not going to blow your business up.
It could. Oh, well, it's an unpopular opinion.
It's not. No. This is not that it couldn't or it could. If you're trying to scale a business and grow it, That is not all you need. You need so much more. You need to be doing more than one thing. You can't put everything into networking and expect that you're going to get a whole business out of it. And especially not today. Everyone thinks like, well, I went to a meeting. Why didn't I get all these referrals?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that point. Yeah. I can see that point.
So many people that do networking, that's all they do. They've been doing it for 10 years and they don't understand why they're not growing.
But it's weird, though, because I have seen some businesses that have leaned on networking and they've exploded. Now, they may not necessarily network as much anymore because they are so busy and now they're leaning just on referrals. But yeah, I do. Okay, I see.
Yeah, there's people that do blow it up on that. But like we're talking about like as a whole, as an industry. So you can't look at the 10 to 20% of an industry and say, well, but these guys did. It's like, well, there's still 80% over here that didn't.
Sure.
So like it's and most of the time it's not duplicatable. So let's say, one of the guys I know does health insurance and he's blown it up with networking. He was already successful doing ads and stuff before, but like as an ROI of like time and effort, and then the money spent on that versus just the time spent, he has a much better return on going out and networking.
Yeah.
But he was already successful before that. He already had the experience. If you went straight into it while trying to learn health insurance in doing that, it could have gone a whole different direction. So it's not something that you can even tell the next guy, well, if you're starting health insurance, go do this, and then you're going to be overnight success now.
Yeah.
Because it's something that really just works for him. It's his personality. It's the effort that he puts in. And he does a lot of effort. So many people don't understand the level of effort that you have to put in to get what you need. Like they're like, well, I've got landscaping especially, that people are like, well, I've got 5 bids out right now, so I'm good. Yeah. It's like, well, 5 bids means you get 1 of them. Mm-hmm. That's not good. Like you need to go get 15 of them so that hopefully you still get 3. Yeah. And the first 5 might get you completely nothing. But if you go out and do the 15, you definitely will get the 3.
Sure.
That kind of thing.
That makes sense. So. Absolutely. What are some of like the biggest misconceptions people have about your fields? Or even just in entrepreneurship? What are some misconceptions? Let's go with that one.
We talked about a pretty good one earlier. You're going to get paid first. You're going to have more off time. No one's my boss. Everyone's your boss now. You got your employees that are your boss. You got customers that are your boss. Probably how quickly everything's going to happen. I think a lot of people think they're going to get into business and then it's just going to happen. I think even when I started, I mean, I'm guilty of this stuff too, by the way. I'm not saying that like I knew better and I jumped in anyways. No, I thought the exact same thing. I thought like, it's going to be easier and better. It's not. But basically, you have to. You just have to realize it's going to take at least 3 years before it starts getting easier. The first 3 years are going to suck because anytime you do make money, if you make it at all, you're going to have to reinvest it because you're going to have to, there's trucks, equipment, whatever it is, marketing, like every business has something that you're going to have to reinvest in. And so the hardest part is going to be 3 to 5 years. And that's why so many businesses fail is not even because people run out of money or whatever else. It's been like, I've been doing this for 3 years and nothing's changed. Yeah. And then they quit right as it was about to turn around and make it easier.
Yeah. That's a really good point for sure. I think a lot of people, like you said, just assume, but that's why that statistic is so high. Like most businesses, unfortunately, fail.
I've noticed a big difference between year 3 and year 4. Yeah. Like we grew a lot, 1, 2, and 3, but it got harder every year. Right. Not easier. Right. And then year 4, a lot of things happen. Like just all of a sudden, I've had a ton of crappy employees, but I'm having some really solid ones now that make the difference. And because, you have the 80-20 rule with employees. So it's like, if you have 10 people, 2 of them are going to be doing most of the work, but also be your, quality, solid people. Yeah. And then the other 8 aren't. Well, if you only have 1 or 2 employees, it's kind of a 50-50 shot then. And that's where you have to just run through a lot of people to find the right ones. And it just takes a lot of time. And that's what, something people don't give much credit towards. The first year or 3, that's what you're spending money on trying to hire the right people, and then you get them, and then you have to fire one because he's bad. Well, that just wasted a lot of money. And now you have to find someone to replace him, which takes more money and more time, and all these little things are what's adding up. Whereas when you get to a certain point, which is normally 3 to 5 years in, you're big enough now where you have enough people that on average, things can be more stable. Yeah. And one person leaving doesn't hurt the whole team nearly as bad as when it's 1 or 2 people. Right.
Well, you're also growing together. You're learning a lot about each other through that time because, like you said, you're still trying to run a business. There's a lot of trial and errors. How do you like to scale and kind of how have you been hiring just great employees? You have some pretty great managers on your team that are really helping out.
Right now, this isn't necessarily the best way, but kind of through volume, where I try to I'm not saying like hire quickly, but hire people that, without trying to sit there and get 20 different people and do all the different, steps that people would normally do.
Yeah.
Hire them on, get them started, and you'll know within a week or two, from my experience, what's going to happen. Within the first day, a lot of the times you can really tell. Just, are they asking questions? Are they, like, there's so much on your first day that you don't know. If they've never texted you after they started working, like, hey, I'm trying to figure this out, or give you some kind of update, they're probably not going to be it.
Yeah.
All the best employees I've had, they always reach out within the first day with some kind of update, or, question about something that I didn't assign them to, that they're trying to figure out because they know that's something they're going to have to deal with or learn or whatever else. And so if you don't see those signs, you just have to move on.
Yeah.
I always try to hire extra. So especially on landscaping and roofing, it's easier to do that kind of thing than, say, like an office staff or a sales manager. And that's where those have to slow down a lot more and do a lot more digging to, make the right decision.
For sure.
But for like things like roofing salesmen, or for like landscaping salespeople, you can hire 2 people and then keep the best one. Because, in my experience, starters, you have to get like 5 interviews so that 2 even show up. And then say both of them are qualified and good and, they have what you need. Hire both of those people. Realistically, only one of them show up anyways. And so hire more than you need, just like you should go out and do more quotes than you need. Like,
right.
Well, I need 5 to survive. Okay, well, go do 10. So that way you can do more than just survive. And if something goes wrong, it's just a bad batch of people, you still get at least the one that you need.
Yeah.
And, and it sounds kind of bad where it's like, well, you're hiring people you're not going to keep. It's like, no, because if they both do well, I'm going to keep them both.
Yeah.
But I have 2 people I'm training at the same time so that I can, efficiently scale this up more, instead of like doing one and then he's really good. Like, okay, well, we could use one more, and then you do it again. Well, now you're using double the amount of time. And realistically, statistically, that I've seen is one of those people are not going to make it anyways. Like, they're going to quit or not be the right fit. And so instead of starting over, you already have the one person that you needed in the first place.
Yeah, I know a gentleman who, what he likes to say is fill the bench, but a lot of the times he, it's not necessarily that they're hired on this spot, but he likes to bring them in and kind of have them interview the company, because at the same time, like, I'm sure they want to fit in, and you want that culture there, and he'll have them come just shadow whatever position they're supposed to be coming in for. And then at the end of the day or the end of the week, however long the trial was, you're like, how did you feel about this? Like, what are some takeaways? And that's how I know he has gotten just quality employees at that point.
Because everybody, just from when I've talked to different people that are very successful in business, or just, I listen to a lot of podcasts and things like that to learn. Everybody says, you're just 1 or 2 hires away from changing your business. So that's where the other thing is too, is I'm trying to hire more of those people. And the only way to do that is to go just through a lot of people, because that's, it's what it takes to do it. So the quicker that you can do that, the better. And that's why I make a lot of quick decisions on, like, for marketing and, like, pivoting and things like that. I try to do it really quickly, because even if it's wrong, it's still actually cheaper to be wrong quickly than it is to slowly make a decision and then you miss the boat.
Spend a lot of money for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then get out of it quickly if you need to.
Right.
Like, some people, tell you, like, well, you need to have a plan to stick for it for 3 months. Like, well, if new data comes up, like take it as investing. Like, say you're investing in Tesla and, everything looks really good. Like, I think this could go up 10%. We're going to invest in it. And then news comes out the next day, some data, like some update, and it looks really bad. You have to adjust. You can't say that, like, oh, the data is not relevant because I made a plan. No, it's still relevant. You've got to go in there and update, for good or bad. Good could be, we have a new marketing plan. We thought it was just going to be a side thing. Well, it's doing so well. We need to turn off the other ones that we were running the business on and move it over to this, because this is working so well.
That's great. Yeah. It's part of business risk too, which I know we talked about in the last podcast too. Just risks that you have to take, things that you have to jump on or turn off.
And you don't have to, but if you want to grow, you have to.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only way to grow. You can't keep doing the same thing. And that's why, like, with networking, I was saying earlier, just because it worked for you for the first year, or maybe it turned into something that's really good, if you want to get past that point, you can't do just that.
Right. Change is actually a good thing.
Or do double it. You can't keep doing the same amount of meetings, do double the meetings then.
Yeah.
But then that's where you hit the point of there's only so much you can do in a day. And then, plus if you're doing really well, then you don't have time to join the meetings, and that's where it changes.
Yeah. As far as, business and relationships go, what's your perspective on having, like, partnerships?
I think they're hugely important. I I think if you have a good group of people around you, for starters, you can ask for ideas. Like, I'm having this problem. How would you solve it? Like, especially if it's people that are farther ahead than you, preferably, not just behind you. And then you need people in different industries because you're going to have problems and that might come up, or one-off things that come up that you need help with, and you would rather have someone you trust and help them grow, and then somebody that'll do the same for you. And or you hear about it from the customer, they have a problem. Like, I can't even tell you how many times, which is why we doing the roofing and the landscaping, is because people, they call you out for one problem, but they have 5 others. But it's either not pressing enough, they couldn't find somebody, or they did try to find people, no one showed up. I mean, all kinds of, reasons pop up. They couldn't find anyone that was good enough quality or didn't know how to do the job. So if you have those connections already, it makes you more valuable. If I could refer you to my plumber, you called me out for landscaping, it's completely unrelated, I don't get paid anything, but by helping you guys do something, then you're more likely to use me because I wasn't just there for me.
Yeah. Even with like competition, you would lean on them too.
Oh yeah. So I've got 3 other landscaping companies that are constantly sending me deals because they're like behind, like they're doing under $1 million in revenue, I believe, pretty much. And so they have questions all about, how to do the concrete for this, how to upsell this for a design, questions, things like that. And like, I feel like if I help them, then at some point they might help me on something, or I need them to take care of something. And, you just don't know where people are going to go. They might not stick in landscaping. They might need, for all I know, they could quit their company and they want to come be a general manager for me someday. Like, you never know what could possibly happen. And then we're all in here for the long term. Like, I'm not here to be friends with them for a year. Like, 10 years is a long time, 20 years. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? Like, an idea that they bring, maybe they want to partner on something.
Merge.
But you can't sit there, and this goes to how networking is too. You can't sit back and wait for people to send you stuff, and then you'll be like, oh, I'll send you something back. You got to put it all out there, because same thing with, like I was saying with quotes, it's like, well, if you think you need 5, do 10. If you want to have good opportunities in businesses, you got to put yourself out there. It's like if you're trying to go get a girlfriend, like, you can't stay at home. Like, go out there, meet people, get around people, and opportunities, ideas, things you never thought you would do, things you could implement in your business pop up.
Absolutely.
But not unless you go out and do it. And eventually they're going to learn something that I don't know, and then they'll be willing to share it with me. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, even like you said, you have quality stonemasons, which are really, really hard to come by, hire, find. So I'm sure I'm hopefully get plenty of referrals for that, just because you do have those people lined up, and that's great. What's your strategy for just finding the good partnerships? I mean, obviously, I'm sure you've met great people.
Kind of the theme for the day, quantity. You just go meet a lot of people. I mean, like, once in a while, like, you've been doing it for, a couple months, you just kind of know, you kind of get, there's a vibe check that people have, and you can just know, like, okay, well, these guys are kind of on it, and maybe you find out some information, you need to pivot away from that later, but just talk with people, sit down, have a one-to-one, learn about their business, where they came from, what they're trying to do, and then, try to go hang out with them, see them outside of work. And just once you do that, there's a lot of people that you're not going to want to do, or have no, reason to help. Like, there's nothing that you can do to help them, but there's going to be 10-20% of those that do, and it's going to be good for both of you.
Absolutely. What's a piece of advice you'd give to some entrepreneurs right now, since y'all are kind of in,
take the first step.
I don't know, a good season?
Take the first step.
Take the first step.
Everybody has a first step that they need to do. Like, I'm in my business right now with 4 companies. I still have first steps I need to take, because everyone has something that they've been sitting there, they wish they had done, or they're like, I would do it if I had this, or if I felt better about this, I would do it. Like, just go do it. Like I said, make a quick decision. Either it's good now or it's not. Like, I've had some customers or different people where they'll hem and haw back and forth. They'll call us out for a quote, and then a week later, like, hey, could you come back out? We won't change your mind, or hey, we're not sure. Is this the right price? Or whatever the problem is. And then sometimes you just have to hit them with, are we doing this or we're not? So people do that too. Like, well, should I start my business? Should I not? Should I get into this instead? It's like, just decide, do it or don't. And if you sit there and your gut instinct is to do it, that's probably what you should do. And if your gut instinct is not to do it, that's probably what you should do. Like, a lot of people just ignore that and just get really emotional about it, and then get stuck. And that can be worse, because now, like, say you're working a job or you have a business, either one of them, and you have something else that you are considering to go do, you're now not invested in whatever that is. So you need to squash the idea or go do it.
Yeah.
So that you can get focused on one or the other instead of being split.
Take that next step. I love it. Well, thanks for joining us today. We will see you next time.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.